Welcome to the Daily Beast podcast. I am still Joanna Coles, and I am still the Chief Content Officer of the Daily Beast.
And I'm Samantha Bee, the Chief Content Officer of being one-sided and strident.
Yes.
Enjoy me.
That's why you're here. Let's
you.
discuss Lorne Michaels'
sure.
remarks about you.
Yes. Well, I don't know. Contextually, it's in a book about him. It's a biography written about him. And I get referenced in the book, as I learned on the Daily Beast, as being someone that he does not want to emulate in any way. Like, don't be like Samantha Bee, meaning one-sided and strident. I mean, literally, imagine calling anyone strident when you have built a career out of elevating the loudest guy in the room. But it's fine. You know what?
Ooh, Sam B claps back.
No. It's fine. I
thought it was fantastic that he referenced you.
Yeah, I concede the point. He's right. I am one-sided, and I am strident, and proudly so.
You're strident in those shoes.
Thank you so much.
Just strident
down the street. Mm-hmm.
I will confess one thing. I've never, as I moved here, obviously, as a British person, now I'm an American, but I have never figured out SNL. Individually, I've liked the odd sketch. I've never fully understood it.
That's funny. I mean, it's just in my consciousness. It was something that I watched when I was a kid. It was like such a delicious treat to sneak down to the basement and watch SNL as a young kid. It felt like an illicit pleasure. So it's just always in my consciousness, and I love it. And I love the performers, and I love the writers. I love the writing. I don't watch it every week, but I certainly have admired it through the years. It's never like so exciting when you're referenced in a negative way in someone else's biography that's going to do really well. But I always love to be on people's minds.
I think I've only met Lorne Michaels once, when actually it was the night of the 2016 election. And I was supposed to be co-hosting a party for what we assumed was going to be Hillary's victory. And then it very quickly, by 9 o'clock, was very clear it wasn't going to be Hillary victory. And a colleague said, why don't you come with me to the NBC control center, the control room in the news, because her husband worked there. And we sat and watched the entire rest of the election falling out. And there were two other guys in the room, Lorne Michaels and Steven Spielberg.
Wow.
And they were sitting there, and I guess Spielberg may have been doing research for The Post, that movie he was making about the Washington Post. But I remember him saying there's nowhere he would rather be than in a newsroom on a day like today.
What were the vibes?
Shock, just surprise. I think just shock and surprise, because really people weren't expecting it in New York.
Right. No, not at all.
You know, New Yorkers in particular felt like they had a bucket full of Donald Trump, and they couldn't believe that he was going to be president. And yet here he is 8 years on.
8 years on, here we are. And he's at the Super Bowl and saluting the national anthem. I don't know.
He's watching his talent. He's watching his talent. He looked so proud of Elon Musk, didn't he, at the press conference when Elon was standing there and Donald Trump was just sitting quietly, amazingly quietly behind his desk, looking like a proud stage mother.
I got such a different impression, actually. I mean, maybe I think you could be right. Maybe I need to watch it again. But I felt that he was in agony watching a little child do stuff and like pick his nose and smear snot everywhere. And
You mean X, the 4-year-old X?
Yes, who is adorable. I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a child. He's adorable. Great. Be a child. But Donald Trump was not like comfortable around little children. He was they were both behind the desk together. I felt that I was seeing the kind of like half smile grimace of a person who's like, do we have to say things? Am I supposed to say something to him? Like, am I supposed to pat him on the top of the head? Like, what do I do to this with this child that's happening right here?
Do you think he thinks of Elon as the son he wished he'd had?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's very deep.
I just thought he looked like he was sitting there and he looked sort of like, my work is done. I've got the richest man in the room right next to me.
Maybe. I don't know. I think he just admires rich people who do crazy things. Okay, the story that really did me in this week was the Kennedy Center. And let me tell you why. because it was such a weird thing to do, to dismantle the leadership of this performing arts center, which is so storied, and install himself and his friends to run the board. It was such a wild, weird left hook of a move. And it was instructive to me. It really reminded me of how much I truly believe that he just has weird dreams and wakes up in the morning and enacts his dreams. Do you know what I mean? I had a dream the other night that my cat was walking around a resort in Maine, and I was with my cat, and my cat had little American Girl doll shoes on.
Okay,
and was
you are
pointing
making
out
this up. You are totally making this
and
up.
it was pointing out all the repairs that needed to be done at the resort. And I feel like if
Are you
Donald
making
Trump
this up? This is what happens in your dreams. You dream of Susan Collins, your cat, in Maine, where Susan Collins is a senator.
Technically, I was dreaming of my other cat, Jerry, and he was wearing American Girl doll shoes and pointing
this
out all
makes
these
no
repairs that
sense.
needed to be done. But I think that Donald Trump has wild dreams and wakes up and makes decisions based on those things. Or someone makes a passing reference. Melania is like, I wish I was more involved in the Kennedy Center. And he's like, baby, I'll give it to you. These are so bizarre, and they're so not thought through, and they don't make any sense. And I think that we lack the imagination to predict what is coming next. And that is not going to serve us well. There are just an awful lot of people right now who are like, it can't get much worse than this, right? It can get so much worse, and you have no idea the ways in which it can get worse, because he literally like dream imagines them and then makes them so. So it's not, I don't care, leadership of the Kennedy Center, whatever. Yes, I did perform there, and it was incredible, and I loved all the former leadership. They were great. But that's not really the point that I'm trying to make. The point that I'm trying to make is that our imaginations, our logical, normal people imaginations, are no match for this. And so we just have to plan better for every terrible outcome. Like, I don't know what to say. It put me in such a panic. It put me in such a state. And I don't have any solve for this. I don't have any.
I think this is
I don't
the
have
solve,
any.
isn't
I don't
it?
have any solutions here. I just think that it will be beyond our. It will be beyond our ability to predict what comes next. So actually, when people tell me to calm down and they're like, you should just live with it, I'm like, you don't know. You don't know. You can't predict. It's going to get so goddamn weird out there. We are on week 3. Are you kidding me? Like, birthright citizenship was like an amuse-bouche. Literally, wait for it. When he changes all the libel laws and the slander laws, like, wait for it. It is all coming at a speed that we will not be, we are bleeding out, and it is just happening. And the Kennedy Center is emblematic of the kind of chaos that we are about to live in. Sorry. I'm in such a bad mood today because I'm traveling tonight. I'm getting on a plane and I'm going to give a speech at Planned Parenthood. And I gotta tell you, that alone, I mean, I'm very excited to give the speech, and I'm always very excited to be in the presence of people who are doing the Lord's work, in my opinion. But it is daunting. It is daunting. Thank you. I just, that was a long.
Whoa!
That was a monologue.
I had absolutely.
I'm perspiring.
No, that was very impressive. That was worthy itself of a Kennedy Center honor, I think.
All cats should wear shoes. That is my next executive
order. I'm very concerned
order.
that your dreams are just as addled as Donald Trump's dreams. If you're dreaming that your cat had American Girl shoes on and was pointing out the floors in the resort.
He was like, you got to paint that.
It's very, very concerning. But we are going to be talking to David Gardner.
Great.
So we're going to be talking to him. So we can ask him about the Kennedy Center, because I know he has an item about it. He feels very strongly about it. I will say, well, I'm very curious to see what he says. Mm-hmm. And as we sit here, I think Tulsi Gabbard is waiting to be confirmed or not confirmed. And obviously we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's been a strange journey. I remember meeting Tulsi when I was at Marie Claire, and we had her in the magazine, and she seemed very normal, straightforward Democrat congresswoman, which is what she was. And then she had that very dramatic stripe, Susan Tontagian stripe in her hair.
Yes,
which she's leaned into as a style note, I notice.
Looks great.
It does look good. And I'm excited to see her poring over intelligence files.
Are you excited about that?
Well,
I can't say that I share your enthusiasm.
okay,
for
I was being slightly dry, but who knows? So in the download, where we dive into Beast stories, we're talking to David Gardner, our chief national correspondent at The Beast. And he's a best-selling author. He's got an extraordinary career spanning war zones, presidential campaigns, and of course, celebrity scandals, and possibly both. David has launched The Swamp for us, which we're saying is like page 6 for politics. And as we like to say, Trump doesn't need to drain the swamp because it's all leaking to the Daily Beast. And he's got an intoxicating cocktail of juicy drama from the Kennedy Center, which you're so moved by, to fancy lunch I went to for Jane Hartley, our former ambassador to the Court of St. James in London. And before that, she was in Paris, where I think she thought she was going to have a very stable, easy time, probably sampling wine and looking at fashion shows, and of course arrived for the killings of Charlie Hebdo, the magazine, and then promptly followed by the Bataclan terrorist murders. So you think what an extraordinary journey she had in what you would assume was the most stable and glorious of all postings. So that was a very interesting lunch. She's now back, but that was me fancy ladies lunch, hosted by Tina Brown.
Wow.
Very fancy. Hillary Clinton was there.
Oh my God, a luncheon. What was on the table?
What was on the table? Very nice flowers.
Something elegant.
It was really, it was a very fun, lively conversation of very smart, accomplished women. Arianna Huffington was there. Valerie Jarrett was there, the former chief of staff to obviously President Obama.
They didn't give you a +1? I'm right
I know.
here.
Next time. I will insist on a +1 next time.
Okay.
We'll also be discussing David's recent article. The Eagles won the Super Bowl, but actually Donald Trump was MVP, which I know is going to upset you and trigger you again.
Do you watch the Super Bowl? Are you a person who watches the Super Bowl?
I watched the halftime show, which I thought was truly dystopic, actually. Wasn't as good as Beyonce was. I went to the New Orleans Super Bowl where the power went out, probably blown by the whole Beyonce set, because there was so much energy and there was fireworks and it was just incredible.
Yeah.
So I do quite like the Super Bowl, and I like the fact that the whole of America is watching it.
Did you watch this one?
I watched the halftime show because I've been traveling, and then I watched half of the second half, and then I was like, it's fairly clear what's going to happen.
Just as a Canadian, I can't understand why for so long it was sold to us as an opportunity to watch fun commercials. I really object to that. I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to think that commercials are an entertainment? I don't see them that way.
And we will also have, lastly, our Beast of the Week is Melora Hardin. She's best known as the unpredictable Jan Levinson on The Office, the fierce Tammy Cashman on Transparent, and the powerhouse editor Jacqueline Carlisle on The Bold Type. She's built a career playing women who command a room, but right now she finds herself navigating a very different kind of challenge. After being evacuated due to the California wildfires, she still can't return home. And like so many, her street is now patrolled by the National Guard, and she's witnessing firsthand the brutal aftermath of the disaster. She's got 25 friends who've lost everything, their homes and everything in it. And she's grappling with survivor's guilt, the practicalities of displacement, and the emotional toll of living in a state where climate-fueled catastrophes are really becoming the norm. I thought it was worth just highlighting that we obviously hit a nerve last week when we talked about the Blake Lively and Baldoni case with Leah Wire from People magazine, because we got tons of comments.
Yes, many negative comments.
Many negative. Although I will say, I am quite good at spotting bot comments, and I thought a lot of these were from real people who feel clearly very passionate about Justin.
Yes, people are very passionate. Sam B getting a lot of personal feedback this week from a lot of different sources.
Listen, people take what you say seriously.
I think what I'm learning is Sam B, stay in your lane. I don't think that I should have an opinion about anything that goes on in Hollywood because I clearly don't know anything and I'm just waiting. And we'll all learn the truth one day.
Well, will we? Will we? But I particularly liked this one. I don't know why I keep clicking on your videos. Actually, I do. It's because of the promised guest. But your banter is so not funny. It's unwatchable. It's tiresome and endless, including Sam's insane vocal fry. OMG. Can't you just talk normally?
What does that mean? I don't have vocal fry.
You really don't have vocal
Here's
fry.
what I do have. From listening to, and by the way, this is because, not to plug my own thing, but I actually have an Audible. An Audible original coming out,
Hooray.
Which is
this is the menopause. How to survive menopause.
How to survive menopause. And I listened to a cut of it the other day, and I did hate the sound of my own voice. I will say that, but for different reasons, not for vocal fry reasons, which I don't believe I have.
You don't have vocal fry is a very specific thing where it's very millennial.
Very
You're
specific.
Gen X.
I take this criticism seriously and I criticize my own self because I think that my voice makes me sound like I think that I'm a character in The Great Gatsby, and I'm trying really hard for that, even though I grew up in Canada.
But what kind of a character in The Great Gatsby?
A horrible person. Like a horrible...
Like the horrible person driving the
Like I'm trying
Rolls
really
Royce.
hard. Like I'm just trying really hard to sound fancy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would not have said that about your voice, but I thought it was very interesting that this person who really hates us and thinks we're incredibly unfunny would nevertheless continue to listen and leave us notes.
That's great. So small correction. I don't have vocal fry, but I do have a terrible voice, and I can't deny that.
Okay, so score 1 for the commenter.
Sir or ma'am, you're semi-right.
Yeah, we got someone saying that judging Justin Baldoni on his looks because he's a man is really low.
Okay. Sure.
Should we?
I guess.
I guess my issue was that he was the director and the camera lingered on his face so much longer than it lingered on Blake's.
I'm just not going to have any more opinions about this issue because it doesn't feel safe. And I guess it's not. I don't know. I guess we'll all find out.
Well, let's hope we find out.
Lord.
Let's hope we find out because seriously, we got a lot of comments on it. So people feel very passionately about it.
Surprisingly passionately. I wish people felt as passionately about like the actual world we live in. As opposed to someone's...
It's partly escapism, right?
It is escapism, but
and
dear
the movie
Lord.
did make $390 million.
What?
Yeah.
It did?
Yeah.
Great.
So, and
God
obviously
bless.
it was a huge hit on Netflix, so I know nothing because I thought
Fantastic.
it didn't make sense, the film.
I also
Whoever
know nothing.
has had a best friend who knocks on the door with a Birkin bag crooked in the center of her elbow and says, "Oh, I need a job and then I'm going to be your best friend."
You know what? I'll say this. I goddamn love Jenny Slate. I think she's so funny.
Is she the actress who plays that character? Well, then she should have
fantastic.
complained and insisted they wrote a better script for
She's
her.
a fantastic person and hilarious, and I love her. And that's all I'm going to say.
I think we just need better roles for women.
Well, that's a fact.